Okay, so just as we're just closing that last part of exempt supplies, please just be mindful in the 60% instance where we had qualified for the 60%. The actual vendor was able to charge 60% because they qualified for the relief of the 60% output VAT in terms of what the actual commercial accommodation charged out in terms of the output VAT. It would have been based on the actual 60% on that part that qualified. However, if the one other person who was on the other end of that transaction, that being the customer in that instance, if they so happen to qualify as well to also be able to claim back input VAT because they were obviously incurring a cost for commercial accommodation, if they so happened to have qualified for that, they would also be restricted to claim back in terms of what they would have been charged, so long as the output VAT was basically like payable, charged out to them. So if in that instance, if they were charged 60% output VAT, they would also be restricted to even to claim back 60% of the input VAT. They cannot claim 100% of the input VAT because that would not be compatible in terms of the output that would have been levied by the commercial accommodation. So be very mindful of that. But that's in a very dynamic and unique situation if the receiving customer was basically a qualifying customer for having to claim back the input. In this part of the lecture, we're now moving over to denied supplies as well, which is also similar to exempt supplies as well, documented in the legislature. However, it's not exempt supplies. It just means that it's a denied supply. So there are certain instances that would deem certain goods, certain services being denied supplies, and we'll quickly go into that on the whiteboard as well. And there are also instances where these denied supplies can likely change from being denied to being taxable given certain exceptions that would have been granted to particular situations that may arise. So this is also a very unique topic in that denied supplies, but there could still be exceptions, and within exceptions there can also be exceptions within exceptions. So it's a very unique topic in itself. So let's just quickly go into it on the whiteboard and see how far we can get with denied supplies.